The Rap Roundtable.
It's rare that you see us on Saturdays, but the Rap Roundtable had to pull up because news is breaking. You know, whether you like him or not, the biggest rap artist dropped his new album, and news happens when stars make news. It's a pretty simple equation. News happens when stars make news. Keep that in mind anytime you see us talking about certain artists that you might not necessarily care about, but nevertheless, we gotta discuss it. The often frenemies, Joe Budden and Drake, are yet again going at it, and it always seems to happen, Mace, when Drake drops a new project and then Joseph decides that he wants to speak on it, and it's not the most flattering of words. If you're not sure who we are, it's your boy Jav here alongside the homie Mace. Sincere the Rap Snob is on location. Diddy the Balance is on location. So you got the two of us, A1 Chatty Boys in the building. Mace, Twitter's going crazy. Instagram's going crazy. Can you, if people are living under a rock and they're confused as to why we're here right now, can you break it down for them?
Listen, tweets are going crazy, Jaw. We here right after, you know, our acclaim for all of those reactions.
There you go.
We here because Joe Budden, you know, right along with us, everybody had to get their takes off about this album. Joe Budden, famous podcaster, you know what I mean?
Number one guy in the space, I'll say.
Not easily. He had a review on his on his Joe Budden podcast, and he mentioned, you know, a lot of the critiques that not only Joe Budden himself has about Drake being, you know, basically, you know, suspended. What is that? Suspended when you growing up? Y'all in the chat.
You talking about Arrested Development?
Arrested Development. There
Yes.
we go. Drake showing a little bit of Arrested Development. You know what I mean? Sounding like a 25-year-old when he's 40, as Joe said. And Drake,
He need to be. Drake is old enough to be on a Rap Roundtable.
Listen, man, pull up, Drake. Pull up, man. And you know they often be lying about their age anyway. Might be older than that. But Drake immediately, you know, I know he's on tour. He's, you know, I would say he's promoting the album, but he's definitely, you know, trying to, you know, wants it to be successful. He went on a 10-paragraph rant on IG. He commented somewhere. I don't know if it's Two Teases page. I don't know if it's just a random hip hop page. Somebody posted the Joe Budden rant, and you know, the OVO captain Aubrey himself went off on a rant, man.
So you mean to tell me? Let's not give him too much information too fast. Right. What you saying to me is that the guy, the number one rapper in the world, for better or worse, sorry guys, just dropped his latest album, is on tour, and he had enough time to write Joe Budden an essay on Instagram? He didn't even want to DM the guy? He wrote it on
No phone calls, you know, no IG stories.
So wait, just hear me out, man. Hear me out. Isn't the album release time usually the busiest time for an artist? Like his team is getting the promo together, or they traveling from city to city. Like, shouldn't he be more focused on isn't it like OVO weekend in Canada this weekend?
Listen, it's the OVO world,
right?
man.
Didn't they rename the Scotiabank Arena to whatever October's very own arena or something like that?
They did.
Shouldn't you be focused on the show? What's going on here, Mace? OVO Capo, make this make sense. Somebody take Drake's
OVO
phone.
Capo. Somebody please take Drake's phone. You know what I mean? But listen, you mentioned OVO Capo. You know who else is an OVO Capo? Is Joe Budden himself.
He's the top one. He's the top lieutenant.
He's the top one. He's the top lieutenant. He's probably, when we talking about other artists, there's been nobody who has promoted Drake and spoke about how much of a fan they are of Drake than Joe Budden. You know what I mean? Now, obviously, a lot of people, you know, you hear Fonte, you hear Pusha T, you hear Jay-Z, you hear Lil Wayne. Drake has a lot of influences, but I think everybody's always known that Joe Budden, you know, he's not as mainstream as the rest, but Joe Budden was definitely a influence of Drake's.
He is.
You know what I mean? Absolutely.
You know what? And you know what is right. There's always an emotional tie. Maybe it's light skin on light skin violence. I don't know. But it's always seemed to be a little more emotional when Joseph and Aubrey get together, because he always has time for Joe. Whereas Drake would ignore so many other people. He ignored Charlamagne for a very long time before he threw some words. And we know he threw Charlamagne those words because it was rollout season. But anytime Joe has anything to say about Aubrey has to respond. And I find it funny because we're not going to get too heavy. Go on Instagram. Matter of fact, just open the internet and type in Drake, and the IG essay is right there, right? But
just scroll, guys. Just scroll.
But if you're wondering, if you're a Drake fan and you don't believe that Aubrey is a Joe Budden fanatic, dare I say, stan, in that IG comment, there were a couple of bullet points that stood out to me. He said that when Joe Budden at his peak was performing for 450 guys, songs off of Mood Music 29, you're a failed rapper, etc., etc. Somebody dug up the old Joe Budden TV videos of Drake himself being one of the 450. He came outside to watch Joe perform Mood Music 47. So with that being said, Drake is a fan. He loves him some Joe Budden. And yet again, now we scrapping. At this point, they need to get the gloves, mates. I don't even think we need to talk. They need to get the gloves.
I think so. It's like you ever been made fun of in class, and everybody just laughing their ass off, and then you look and you say, I know it ain't you laughing. That's the energy Drake had with this one. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And just like you say, it's a very deep rooted issue. You mentioned Joe Budden TV. There's a Tahiri aspect to this. You know what I mean? We're not even gonna get into. This is a little bit of CB. You know what I mean? Shout to J.R. Smith. Yeah, shout to 50 Cent. You know what I mean? We're not gonna get too.
Shout out to Times Square.
Get too chatty. Goddamn. A triple homicide. Goddamn, Joe. Oh man, but you know, like there's so much between these two. There's been diss tracks, there's been, you know, because the clip you mentioned, Job, they were showing mad love to each other. You know, this was beardless Drake, this was high, you know, suburban voice Drake. Ain't no, you know what I mean? He don't sound like one of the yard men in this clip.
That was fresh off a glass of maple leaf syrup Drake, you know what I mean?
You feel me?
That warm, apparently, you know what I mean? I'm gonna censor that, but it's okay.
You feel me?
Like
so I think, right. You know what I mean? It was a different Drake. People will argue that was a better Drake, though, to be honest. But honestly,
I would say fade with the beard Drake. Skin fade with the beard Drake is the best.
Skin fade with the beard Drake was kind of lethal. I ain't gonna lie. Yeah, that's true. You know, it's been different Drakes, yo. Maybe one day we'll rank the Drakes. You know what I mean? But ultimately, it's Drake loves Joe, man. Drake loves Joe. You know what I mean? And even when you heard Joe speaking about it, like, as a Drake fan, a lot of this, it's been think piece weekend. Every tweet is a think piece. Drake's a misogynist. Drake needs to grow up. You know, and then on the other side, you know, oh, you guys don't get it. You know what I mean? Y'all critiquing Drake the way you wouldn't critique other artists. Everyone has an opinion about this shit. Just like you said, Joe, this is one of those. Often people say, hey, why do you guys talk about certain people? Y'all can see the entire internet is talking about them. I guarantee there's somebody you know that absolutely hates Drake that listened to that album this weekend just to tell you how much more they hate Drake. You know what I'm saying?
Though, even the people who are asking us why we're talking about Drake woke up at 6 a.m. to listen to the album too. Everybody's listening to the album. Like, we're not gonna pretend anymore. You know what I'm saying?
I got the tags on Twitter to prove it, man.
Talk about it. And while y'all here, if y'all ain't hit that like button, y'all playing. We need 300 to 350 on each and every one of these videos. Stop playing with us. Hit that like button. Roundtablemerch.com is right there. Get your merch. Copy one of these truckers, the best trucker in the game. The hoodies are coming soon. Tap in.
Nice
We're back. Continue to cook, Mace.
But I was saying that as a Drake fan, you know, you kind of brush off people because you know this clip. We know these people who don't fuck with Drake anyway, but feel like they need to have an opinion on him anyway. But Joe is someone we know loves Drake. You know what I mean? If I'm correct, he's called Drake, you know, not the GOAT, but up there with Jay-Z before. You know what I mean? Like, Joe loves this guy, and we know how he feels about Jay-Z. So it's like, Joe Budden's opinion kind of matters on this. You know what I'm saying?
And that's crazy because Aubrey is responding to one particular, and that's the thing. That's the nasty part about podcasting because we do it, and we can see how a person will do a 2-hour show, and they'll take a 2-sentence statement, but only focus on one part of the 2 sentences and create a narrative based on one part of that sentence, while the other part of that sentence was complimentary. Because whereas Joe said that Drake needs to grow up, I don't even think I seen him say the album was whack. I didn't watch the whole episode, so don't hold my feet to the fire. I watched bits and pieces, but he basically said that Drake is the golden child. He said, quote unquote, he's him. He said Drake is him on that same episode, and then he challenged them to grow up because at 36 years old, he doesn't need to keep rhyming like he's 25, or basically saying he doesn't need to rhyme about youthful issues anymore. That's the critique. Drake needs to grow up. And he used J. Cole as a reference. J. Cole, as he matured as a man, so did his content. He was no longer college boy J. Cole. He became grown man J. Cole with a different perspective and point of view on the world at large. That's what he wants from Aubrey. He said that there was a time when Aubrey was a dude that rappers looked to push their pen and level up their artistic value. You can't tell me that Cole didn't get better because of Drake and Kendrick the same way, because they're in the same ring, the same arena. But if you decide to digress as a man, or regress, I should say, as a man, and start rhyming about youthful things because you want to chase the demographic, something we talked about on the reaction, then you'll get the critiques so people will say he's immature. Like I can see it. Remember when I think when Views dropped and Joe was like, this album is ass? Yeah,
the original rant.
I could see if Joe had took that approach, but he was very respectful. So for Aubrey to be this touchy about it is giving emotion. And on top of that, then he goes to Twitter, and that's what in the Instagram stories it says, you thought you was Kobe. Do you know how petty you gotta be to reference when Hov said that you might be Kobe or Tracy McGrady 20 years ago? That's childish. Maze, get your man.
Listen.
People thought he was talking about the Draymond and Paul Pierce. No, if you don't know, he's referencing a Hov bar from 20 years ago.
He is a classic ball, by the way, if he was around for that era. But listen, and when you speak on that, the first thing I thought of was how the long continuous diatribe he went against Charlemagne. Mm-hmm. I'm like, Drake is very easily triggered these days. I don't know if something's going on. We us at the OVO team, we're gonna have a team huddle because the album's gonna go number 1. You know what I mean? If you look at the Billboard, it's about to be 12 of the next top 15 tracks on the Billboard. J. Cole going number 1. The success is there, Drake. So we have to think about, beyond surface level, what you may be upset about. And honestly, this Joe Budden critique, maybe it didn't hit. Maybe if Charlemagne said it wouldn't have hit, because that's the way I thought. I thought, well, if you're not a fan, not that I'm not going to listen to you, but I'm going to take what you say with a grain of salt. But Drake knows how much Joe loves him. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And if you're not going to go on a continuous long rant when Joe praises you, then you should probably be quiet when he talks shit about you too, even if what you're saying was hilarious and maybe right.
And Joe Budden spoke to that. So because it was an issue he had with Cardi B where he was like, y'all quiet when it's praise, but y'all quick to talk about me when I critique you. You can't have it both ways. And this is why as podcasters, it's hard to be friendly with artists, because some artists, they're gonna want to be mad if you're not saying they shit is 10 out of 10 every time out. You know what I'm saying? But you know what? We're gonna close this one out with a sports reference.
What's up?
This is kind of like the old athlete. At a certain point, you've seen it in every sport. The superstar or the face of the league athlete at some point gets older, and as he gets older, he gets a little more touchy. He starts to claw at the media and post-game pressers because he knows that the erosion of skill is there. And I think Drake is getting to that point. Notice he mentioned that he's going to take a break. Something we talked about. It might be time for him to go sit down for a second. You say you're gonna take a break, focus on your health, because you're gonna move away from music because the music suffers. Say what you will, the music suffers when you're not mentally and physically one. So I think this is the older athlete seeing some erosion, not trying to hear the people who would know what the erosion looks like, not the generic fan, but the people who rap or the analysts who used to play who would know he's losing a step. And I think that he's seen Joe, like you said, his guy saying, "Yo, we need to grow up." That erosion is there. Scary. I think Drake, it's scary hours for Drake.
Hit a little different coming from Joe. Hit a little different.
Listen, it had to, because the thing is, he could have just dropped a bar, or he could have just put out a 1-sentence tweet. Drake does funny stuff, or it could have been like the typical Drake move where he just posts a random photo and a caption to be the shot. The man wrote.
Right. No. 5 years ago, Drake would have posted a picture of Joe Budden in one of those vests from Love and Hip Hop and just kept it pushing. You know what I'm saying? That would have been a Drake response 5 years ago. So I don't know. 15
podcast episodes later, Drake will call him. He'll put the phone on speakerphone. They'll kiss and make up, and we'll move on. Or it'll be an IG live where they'll go on live together, chop it up. They'll insult each other back and forth, and then they'll move on. This right here, Drake fans, y'all need to be concerned. There's a little chink in that armor. That's all I'm saying. I'm a neutral participant in the situation. I'm here for good music. I'm also here for good podcast content. So I'm not here to attack Drake. But there's some concern. To me, I got to use a Stephen A term. This is giving me cause to pause. You know what I mean?
Listen here.
Hey, man, Mace, you got any final words before we get out of here?
As the OVO captain, or the OVO capo, my fault, Orbs. I'm gonna say this ain't the best look for the OVO team this weekend. You know what I mean? The reactions, the think pieces, the how Drake feels about it, and even the album itself is, a little shaky. So I don't know. We're a little bit in disarray at OVO right now. We're gonna get right though. We're gonna get right.
Jeez. Hey, listen, hit that like button on the way out. Roundtablemerch.com, get your merch. The reaction is out right now. If you haven't seen our reaction, if you're new to this channel, tap in, hit that subscribe button, get familiar with us, and we'll be live this Monday. You already know how we do Monday Night Raw.
Yes,
pull up, get familiar. Till next time.
Sir. We out.